Oh, come on, Richard. That's only because the paparazzi aren't interested in trailing Sophie of Wessex around, because it doesn't sell newspapers, and you know it as well as I know it. You can't say Meghan compared to Sophie. It's not. It's like comparing a Ford Fiesta with a Lamborghini. I mean, the two, forgive me, Sophie's a good egg. And you know, the royal family needs, you know, good, hardworking, loyal people. But Meghan has star quality, which is why we keep talking about her, and we keep coming back to Meghan, because let's face it, we all miss her a bit.
Right after that clip, you can already feel the shift in tone, because what was meant to be a casual comparison quickly turns into something much bigger. An accidental admission about relevance, attention, and the undeniable pull of one person, Meghan. Let's break this down, because there's a lot packed into those few seconds. When the journalist dismisses the lack of paparazzi interest in Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, it's not even framed as criticism, it's presented as fact. Not cruelly, but bluntly. The idea is simple. Attention follows demand. And demand in today's media ecosystem is driven by impact, intrigue, and yes, star power. And then comes the line that's got everyone talking. Comparing Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, to a Lamborghini, and Sophie to a Ford Fiesta. Now, whether people agree with that comparison or not, the point isn't really about cars. It's about perception. It's about how two women within the same institution are viewed completely differently by the public and, more importantly, by the media. A Ford Fiesta is reliable. It's steady. It does what it needs to do. A Lamborghini? It turns heads. It creates noise. It demands attention without even trying. And what the journalist is really saying, perhaps more honestly than intended, is that Meghan doesn't just exist in the royal orbit, she disrupts it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth for many commentators. Even when Meghan isn't present, she dominates the conversation. Think about that. She stepped back from royal duties years ago, moved across the Atlantic, built a new life, and yet, on panels, in podcasts, across headlines, her name keeps coming up. Not occasionally, constantly. And that's exactly what Tessa Dunlop taps into when she makes that almost cheeky but revealing remark to Richard Fitzwilliams that maybe, just maybe, they all miss Meghan a little bit. It's said with a hint of humour, but it lands with weight. Because if Meghan truly didn't matter anymore, if she had faded into irrelevance like some critics predicted, then why does every conversation seem to circle back to her? Why is she still the benchmark? Why is she still the comparison point? Why is she still the headline? You don't compare people to someone who doesn't matter. You don't bring someone up repeatedly unless they're still central to the narrative. And that's what makes this moment so fascinating. It's not just commentary, it's confession. A quiet admission that Meghan occupies a space no one else quite fills. Now, let's talk about this idea of star quality, because that phrase gets thrown around a lot but rarely unpacked. Star quality isn't just about fame. It's not just about recognition. It's about magnetism. It's about presence. It's about the ability to draw attention, spark conversation, and hold interest whether people admire you, criticize you, or debate you. And Meghan has that in abundance. Before she ever entered royal life, she was already part of the entertainment world. She understood media, narrative, image. But more than that, she had something you can't manufacture, a kind of charisma that translates across platforms, across audiences, across continents. And that didn't disappear when she left the royal family. If anything, it became more pronounced. Because now she's not confined by royal protocols or expectations. She's operating on her own terms and still commanding global attention. Meanwhile, figures like Sophie represent a very different model. Steady, dependable, quietly committed to duty, and there is absolutely value in that. The royal family, as the journalist points out, needs people like that, people who keep things running, who don't rock the boat, who show up consistently without drawing too much attention. But in a media-driven world, quiet consistency doesn't generate headlines. And headlines are the currency of relevance. So when the journalist says Meghan has star quality, it's not an insult to Sophie, it's an acknowledgement of a different kind of influence. One that operates beyond traditional royal roles. One that thrives in the modern attention economy. And this is where Tessa Dunlop's comment becomes even more interesting. Because saying we all miss her a bit isn't just about Meghan as a person, it's about what she represents. She brought unpredictability, energy, a sense of something new. And whether people loved that or criticised it, it made things feel alive. Without her, the narrative becomes more predictable, more controlled, perhaps even a little quieter. And for commentators, for journalists, for audiences that can feel like something is missing, not necessarily because they agree with her choices, but because she changed the dynamic. She gave people something to talk about, and that's the irony in all of this. Some of the same voices that criticise Meghan are the ones who keep bringing her up. Again and again and again. It becomes a loop. Critique fuels conversation. Conversation fuels relevance. Relevance keeps her at the centre. And the cycle continues. So when Richard pushes back, when there's resistance to that comparison, it almost feels like an attempt to reassert a certain narrative, one where tradition outweighs disruption, where duty outweighs celebrity. But the reality is, both exist, and both serve different purposes. The problem is, only one of them dominates the modern media landscape. And it's not the one quietly carrying out engagements, it's the one people can't stop talking about. And that brings us back to the Lamborghini analogy. Because, love it or hate it, a Lamborghini isn't subtle. It's not designed to blend in. It's designed to stand out, to be noticed, to spark reaction. And that's exactly what Meghan does. Even in absence, even in silence, even when she's not the one speaking. Other people speak about her. And that, more than anything, is the real takeaway from this moment. Not the comparison itself, not the debate between commentators, but the underlying truth it reveals. Meghan remains the reference point. She remains the conversation. She remains the story. And perhaps, as Tessa Dunlop suggests, whether people admit it or not, there's a part of the media landscape that misses that spark. Because without it, things feel just a little less compelling. And that's why, no matter how many times the narrative tries to move on, it always circles back. To Meghan. Because in a world driven by attention, the person who commands it most effortlessly will always be the one everyone keeps watching, and talking about, and comparing others to, whether they like it or not.